Okay, waiting out a storm. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about world building since I have to wait for the storm to finish so I can get to working on the painting I was working on. This journal here is the first journal I made for Harmony, the campaign that I ran about, a year ago. And I actually did several journal things while I was world building. This one here, I made the journal cover for it. I got a journal making kit, and I got these beautiful leather pieces, embossed leather. And since Harmony was this mashup between steampunk, cyberpunk, and magic type realm, on the cover of it, you've got this little gear thing. But there's all this information about the planet in here. I decided about what the towns would look like, what, see if I can get to it. We did stickers showing what the towns were like, what the skies over Harmony look like. It's two of the towns. And so I filled this one up before I went into the campaign. I also had this thing, which again has a lot of information about. See, I took copious notes from the books, the series by James Krantz, so that I would know exactly what I was dealing with as I made my campaign. And here we go again. I've got the towns represented, and I've got some pages that have like pockets that I could stick information in. And I had pages that, these here are like, I could take campaign notes and write specific things in the middle of the in the middle of playing the campaign, and I made my journal really pretty because I've got an artistic bent and I like to do things like that. But then later campaigns, different worlds that I was doing, I had a different journal for. This one here is called my brainstorming book. And this is the one that I write down the concept of the world. I pull out my GURPS workbook, the GURPS book, and I use it as a workbook to figure out the information about the world, and I write it down in my notebook so I've got it handy. And then when I start to work on doing my maps, I go to this and I look at the notes to decide the terrain and the ecology and stuff, and that bases the how I do the map. So if I want to do a topographical map, I've got to look at those notes. The notes will tell me what the area where I'm putting the area in the map, what the elevations and stuff are, so I can do my topographical. This one here, like I said, it's a different campaign altogether. And the first thing I did in the very beginning of it is I've got concepts for NPCs that are going to show up. And I haven't got any rolls done. I just got the name of what the NPC type character is and the stats for them. A little further back, there we go. There's a map of the area. One of the Go Home Gnome maps. And information about that particular area. And I would go through and I would do this. And I would take my notes. And when I go into the actual campaign, I've got my information written down. And I have all the information I need to tell my players at hand in a journal that I can refer to during the campaign if a situation changes and they want to go into a different area or do something different from what the original quest line had started out as. I've got the information. And I can direct them according to how the information in the book is. I also have, like I said, specific dice. I have the special dice that determines the weather for the day. I can use these special dice to roll up alignment and character class for my NPCs. And it makes it easier. It really makes it easier to be just a little bit organized. I'm not someone that can just go, poof, this is what we're going to do, and this is, this is where you get put in, and etc. I tell people what level characters they need to roll up. And because sometimes it starts out as a first level adventure, sometimes it starts out at like a 5th level adventure. You need to have the information had before we start. So if they've already got a character that has played up to 5th level, they're set. And if it's a 5th level adventure. If not, they need to roll that character up as if they were a 5th level adventure. Figure out their experience points, and etc. And I have a little template that I can list who all's there, what their character is, what their character class is, and their levels and what have you. And I've got it there, so I don't have to continually ask them, well, what is your character's strength? What is your character's bonus? I can say, okay, roll up this, add your bonus up, tell me. And I note it down, and we go on. The world building itself means that you have to use your brain. Think about what the world is like. What is your concept of the world? What kind of setting is it? Are they going to be like in medieval style clothing, like a lot of the Tolkien-based things are done? Are they going to be fantasy adventure types? What would the clothing styles be like in a fantasy world? Because you're going to want to take that into consideration for the shops. That, like, you have a tailor that makes outfits for adventurers and outfits for the common folk, and what do they look like that makes them look different? Because a lot of times in these worlds, you tell a person's class by how they are dressed. Their economic class, their social class, where they fit in society. It's much like here in um, our world, you can tell if somebody's extremely wealthy compared to somebody who's not wealthy. You're just common everyday person, or someone who is maybe a homeless person by the kind of clothes they wear and how they present themselves as they're walking down the street. So you need to think about things like that. You need to think about what is the economic standard. Is it copper, silver, gold, platinum, electrum pieces, as you would see in most fantasy worlds? Or is it credits, which would be like a credit card, except it's entered in on a fancy computer somewhere, and you just, you sign a piece of paper to, or whatever, when you buy stuff, and the amount is entered in, and it is taken out of your credits. Is it some other form of currency? Is it entirely barter? How would your characters barter for goods? What would they, how would they, like, would they barter a service? Would they barter something that they made? Let's think about things like that. What kind of religions are on your planet? Is there a religion? So if there is a religion, what sort of organization is there to it? Do they have like little shrines out in the middle of nowhere? Or do they have big fancy temples somewhere? What is the structure of the hierarchy of the priesthood? Do you have names for the hierarchy? Those are things that you think about when you're making a world. You don't have to get too terribly detailed about it. I generally tend to, because that's just the way I am, I tend to go into a deep dive and figure out everything I know about that world before I set it up. But that's why I say the GURPS book is so important. The GURPS book gives you all that information, and you can sit there and say, well, it's a Tech 2 world. And it tells you what a Tech 2 world is like economically and what their military is like. You have classifications for the military. You have classifications for the economics. You can decide every little detail about what that society is like just from this one book. You can do the maps, like I showed you that one day, the GURPS planet map, and I'll put all your information down. You've got a worksheet right there. Before you ever draw a map, before you ever start taking notes like this, you've got a worksheet. And it tells you everything, the main information. You can just go into your campaign with only that worksheet. And everybody can just, theater the mind. We don't have to worry about a bunch of maps. We don't have to worry about miniatures. We don't have to worry about all this other stuff. Just their character sheet and their dice. And the rules from whichever book you're playing from. In my campaigns, it's usually Palladium, because I'm very, very comfortable with the Palladium system. But I have old school, and I have D&D 5th edition, and I have a couple other systems that we work with sometimes. And you play in what you're comfortable in playing. You don't have to step out of your box. But I would encourage you to keep a journal. When you're making your world, keep a journal. And the reason for that is something may come up in the middle of gaming that's important to that world that you're going to use in another campaign based on that world. You want to have notes taken down and describing what that change is that was made to that world. And it doesn't have to be a really pretty journal like mine is. It can just be like a spiral notebook, like my, like this one, just that you've just written down your notes. The note taking is important. It helps jog the memory. And the older you get as a DM, like I'm 73 years old. My memory isn't what it was when I was 29. And, you know, back in the 70s and early 80s, when I was in my late 20s and my early 30s, I had much better memory and didn't need to take such copious notes. But now I take the notes because it helps keep things in my memory, so that if you know, we wait 2 or 3 weeks between sessions, I can go back and I can say, oh, well, this is where we left off at, and this and this and this has happened. Now we're going to go from this point on, and this is what you need to expect. Sometimes the notes include lore about the world. What is back history of this world? Like with Harmony, the world is one that is a really interesting way that everybody got there. And it's not inhabited, or wasn't inhabited when they got there by anybody, but it had been inhabited because they came across these ruins that were thousands of years old from this alien culture. The aliens had left the planet suddenly. And the only way they had any idea of what they looked like was when they found sarcophaguses in the catacombs below the tunnel system below the cities. And because everything was made of this beautiful green quartz, the buildings above and the tunnels below, it had lasted all these thousands of years without much damage being done. So that was something that was part of the lore of this world that we played in. Anyway, it's something to think about, and I hope you guys are having a really great day. And I love you all so much. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.